How do we have great relationships with our relatives and our in-laws? This is a very powerful question, and it is so important. And our in-laws, our relatives are with us, whether we like it or not, whether we like them or not, whether they tick us off, rub us the wrong way. It's definitely possible for us to have, challenging relationships with each other, but it's really important that we get along. And the big question is how? How is it when we get irritated by what they say or what they do, whether they live long distance or not? The truth is, we're going to interact. We're going to be together in family occasions. We're going to see each other. And there's a formula that I created in order for us to have these more peaceful relationships with our relatives and our in-laws. And I hope to leave you at the end with 2 practical tips. Okay. Great relationships with relatives and in-laws can be difficult. However, we know that we need to get along. It doesn't matter if we see each other often or not. The truth is, we need to get along to have good relationships. This doesn't mean they have to be your best friend now, right? However, it does mean honoring them and exercising these 3 keys in order to get that positive relationship. So what are the 3 keys? The 3 keys are RAG: respect, accept, and give. We'll start with respect. However, before I get into it a little bit, we need to understand that when we respect and accept and give to our in-laws and our relatives, we in turn become flexible, approachable, calmer, and have quality relationships as well as happy relationships with others. Or a person can choose to get angry, live in resentment, have hurt feelings, live in blame, and blame that person for years to come. In other words, turn that marble, that small matter, that small situation into a huge basketball and blow it up. We know that seeing each other at families, events, and get-togethers is inevitable. It's unavoidable. It's going to happen. But it can often be a dreaded experience. The one who suffers the most in the end is actually you, is the person who carries that anger and resentment. Instead of letting go, forgiving, and creating peaceful relationships, the person can choose to create this small matter into a huge one and live in the past. However, a wise person chooses to be smart instead of being right. So R is for respect. What are we respecting about our in-laws and our relatives? So this is especially for difficult in-laws and relatives, but it's really for everyone. Sometimes in-laws and relatives can be really just the sweetest people, and everybody else is talking about them. They're such wonderful people, but it's hard for us maybe to accept them or to get along with them because they are teaching me something about myself, right? If that person is rubbing me the wrong way, maybe it's something that I need to change, and most of the time it is. So R is for respect. Respect means we are respecting them for who they are. Especially, this is so important for older relatives, respecting them. They need to be respected. Respect their preferences, right? Maybe they don't like visits as often. Maybe they like oftentimes to be visited, right? Maybe they like dishes to be served on glass plates. Now, as long as this doesn't bother your spouse and you don't have shalom bayit issues, meaning your peace in the home is not disrupted, so serve the glass dishes. You do a little bit of extra work. Remember, when you're giving, you're loving. That's going to be touched more on when we talk about giving. Always address them respectfully. And even if you were being disrespectful, whether intentionally or not, just apologize. When a person apologizes, it's telling the other person that your relationship to me is important. And of course they are important because they are related to us, whether through our husband or it's within our own family. Just apologize. Your apology may be accepted or not, but the fact that you did it It really shows your personality and the person who you are, because peace is important to you. Maybe that person needs more time. People are different. People carry different weights and packages, and they have different personalities. So we have to do our part. A is for accept. Accept their positive traits as well as their negative traits. Accept who they are. Accept who they're not. Maybe her sister-in-law always calls and your sister-in-law never calls. Maybe your mother, is very helpful and her mother isn't, and or vice versa. I have friends or ladies who talk to me who just like, I wish my daughter called me so much. It's my daughter, but when the daughter gets married, she doesn't call as much and it hurts the mother. Or vice versa, the daughter always seeks help and the mother thought, hey, I thought when she was married she's going to be off my back a little bit. So it really depends. So we want to make sure that we accept each other's positive as well as the negatives. Maybe they don't answer their phone, and you can't. Maybe they always answer their phone when you call, but you just can't stand them asking so many detailed questions when they talk to you. Or maybe they have a loud nature, or they look like they're helping, but really they're intruding in your private life, in private matters. But they admire you and constantly compliment you or seek your advice. So you like one part of them, you can't just negate the other, right? You can't complain about other parts of them because it is the whole person. It's part of them. Now, giving is really, really, really important as well. Give to them in the way they like to receive. Everyone has a love language. So maybe they like to receive compliments. Maybe they need your time, right? Just for you to be available. Maybe they need your help and availability. You will always win by being a giver. After 120 years, you're only going to be a more enhanced human being and refined human being by giving to others. It's not a business relationship. Marriage is not a business relationship. I do, you do, 50%, 50%. There's no such thing. The Torah teaches us that I'm 100% putting myself into the relationship, but I'm going to get so much more back without keeping count, right? You give yourself and you don't expect, right? You will do so much more for your child, the child who doesn't complain, the child who's grateful, the child who's always helpful. You want to give so much more because the child doesn't expect anything back. So a true giver does not expect anything back. Maybe that person wants it feels much closer to you when you help them out. So you make them some salads, you bring it over. Or you surprise them with a small gift, right? Learn their love language, whether it's words of affirmation, maybe help and assistance, or gifts. Surprise them with a small gift. If they like a certain smell, maybe buy them a candle with that smell, or certain types of flowers. Maybe for Shabbat, buy them a small plant or flowers. Surprise them just because you're thinking about them. Remember, when you give, you're going to give that person an opportunity to be closer to you, and you create a new relationship. So if you want to be closer to someone, or you want to have a better relationship with someone, and it's difficult and it's not there, so you have to start by giving. Give something small. Maybe it's not an object, but maybe it's a phone call just to say hello. Hey, how are you? Just wondered how you're doing. I'm thinking about you. Just wonder how your day was. That could take a minute of your time. It doesn't have to take much. But that's going to recreate your relationship. Do it once a week. And that's also another practical tip. Give to them. Give to them in the way they want to be given. It will mean the world to them. Okay, so now I'm going to give you the 2 practical tips. Practical tip number 1 is to give to your relative or your in-laws, whoever that person is who's difficult, or if you want to amend the relationship with, is you give to them for 30 days without expecting gratitude, right? And I know it's hard because we want to be noticed, we want to be thanked, but just do this for 30 days. Whether you're giving them help, compliments, time. Now, you're not doing this every day, but you're doing it for 30 days. You're not complaining about them, right? You're not expecting gratitude. Just do it. Let it seep in. Your relationships will sweeten as a result and become so much more pleasant. In a way, we are also emulating Hashem, because since Hashem does for us, no matter how we act, whether we express gratitude or not. He still gives, right? So we are also representing Hashem. Our mitzvah is also to represent our Creator, emulate Him. Practical tip number 2 is magnify one thing that they did to you or what you appreciate them and make it big. And really, really, whenever they call you, think about that first. Whenever you see them, think about that first. For example, if you have a very difficult mother-in-law and you have a very hard time getting along, so think about your spouse, that you're so grateful that she raised your husband. You're grateful to him. So everything else will be a little bit easier to do. You'll be able to hopefully overcome difficult situations and interactions and be more accepting and giving and flexible because you appreciate your spouse so much. You're grateful. Maybe a difficult relative was there for you when you had an emergency. Remember, we're not supposed to take anything for granted. Even if an inanimate object you have benefited from, like we learned from the Torah, from Moshe Rabbeinu. He wasn't allowed to strike the water. He wasn't allowed to, right? He wasn't allowed. Why? Because he benefited from that water. He was carried across as a baby on the water. So even though it's inanimate, even though it's not alive, we have to be grateful. So whenever someone does any form of goodness towards us, whenever we've benefited from anyone, whether it's a kind word, whether it's time, whether they were there for us one time in our lives, we need to be grateful. We need to express our gratitude and not take anything for granted. And in this way, when we look at that person, because you know what, she was there for me or he was there for me during when I needed them most. Maybe it was one time. And magnify that situation whenever you see them. Try it for 30 days and hopefully your relationship will sweeten even more. Remember, a person is like a recipe, right? You can't take one ingredient out. One ingredient is like a feature in the person. We can't take one part of them out just because we don't like it, right? It's going to be the wrong person. It's going to be a different recipe. So we have to accept the full package of the person. We also need to remember that we also have negative character traits, just like other people. We're also not perfect, and we want people to be accepting toward us. We want people to be respectful and giving. Hashem reacts to us and treats us the way we treat His children. Even that difficult person is His child. It's His only child, and He created to take up space in this world, to fulfill this mission in this world. And we can look at it that if this person needs to be here, I need to be here. The world, we don't live in a vacuum, right? The universe is one. We kind of balance each other off. So if Hashem created this person, I also need to be here in this world. We complement each other. Even if we're very different or if we're very the same, it doesn't matter. We exist for a reason. There's a purpose for everything, rhyme and reason for everything. So this can help us create more peaceful relationship, knowing that I need to exist in this world and so do they. If they don't exist, I can't exist because Hashem runs the world in this beautiful way, in this beautiful formula. So the way I treat others is the way Hashem treats me. If I respect and give and accept, that's the way Hashem treats me. He respects, He forgives, and He gives even more no matter what. Even when I'm justified or I'm unjustified, when I'm right or when I'm wrong, He looks over my mistakes and He gives to me and He forgives. All in all, we need to be grateful for these difficult people in our lives. We do not ask Hashem to give us difficult people. We do not. However, when we do have difficult people in our lives, we tell Hashem, thank you for this person in my life because they made me more grateful. They made me more accepting. They made me more introspective and reflective of myself. I became more patient. I became more tolerant, more forgiving. And we do enhance our character traits with difficult people. If we have people who are exactly the same as us, or we get along so beautifully, they don't enhance our traits, right? It's the child who tests you. You become a greater person when your husband has a character trait that you just really need to work on yourself, and you just become a better wife, a better person. Or it's this relative who has this trait who you're able to tolerate and make peace with, and that's when you're so proud of yourself, and that's how you become more of a person, a better person. You improve in your character, and that's the goal of our life. Remember, respect, accept, and give. These are all my own thoughts. Appreciating Leah Abramov's thoughts. Leah Abramov, being and becoming. Awakening awareness of your greatness and potential.